for example, we use Scott in that example where he's got to protect his time. So for example, if he decided to allocate that 8 hours to his grind and all of a sudden one of his friends call and is like, hey, you want to hang out? He's got to put a boundary there and respect that time that he already allocated and decided that he was going to play poker.
Okay. All right, moving on. Point C. Boundaries on your time are very important. Spend your time wisely and effectively on what your highest priority is without getting sidetracked. Yep, it's the most precious currency to all living creatures is time. Time waits for no man. It's the most limited resource we have. And I think it's quite a common thing that people actually don't value their time enough. So yeah, just again, this pretty much follows on perfectly from the last one. I think is working smarter, not harder, but also not allowing people to use your time frivolously, which again is one of those things that people don't realize is quite offensive when someone wastes your time. And some people do get very precious when their time gets wasted, and if you actually examine it, it does make a great deal of sense. It is the most precious thing we have. You cannot get it back. You want to allocate it to the jobs and the people that deserve it the most, and when someone is using it recklessly or frivolously, that is something that you shouldn't suffer lightly. So yeah, don't allow people to abuse your time, and do not procrastinate. But even more important, so like I've had a history of procrastination, but even more importantly, don't end up down rabbit holes. And I'm gonna quickly draw on a poker specific example before I defer to you here, Jack. And I think we've both been on a little bit of rant about this lately. Is node locking, and a lot of people have learned how to node lock, which I think is great. But I think some people have started going a little bit off piste with the node locking, and what they're doing is they're spending far too much time node locking and not nearly enough time just looking at ordinary sims, and ending up down rabbit holes. And this is something that I think is quite hard for people to balance. What you really need to do is, especially when you're studying, when you're playing poker, is you need to roughly allocate the amount of time you're going to spend to each of those things, and then weight them accordingly as to what's most important. So limped pots in heads-up situations are the spots that you're going to play in spins the most frequently. And then, blind versus blind, then button versus big blind. These are the hands that are going to occur the most frequently. So if you're spending 2 hours studying in a day, and you spend an hour and 45 minutes looking at one single hand and giving your opponent a very specific range of like 15 combos of hands, and then you spend 15 minutes doing the other work, that's going to be extremely inefficient and a poor use of your time. But it is something that people are actually doing at the moment. So allocate your time beforehand and weight it accordingly to the things that happen most frequently. All right, I'm done ranting there, Jack. You're in.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It's really good advice all the way through. And there's not really much to add to that besides, the boundaries goes back to what we were talking about with number one, where, for example, we use Scott in that example where he's got to protect his time. So, for example, if he decided to allocate that 8 hours to his grind, and all of a sudden one of his friends call and is like, hey, you want to hang out? He's got to put a boundary there and respect that time that he already allocated and decided that he was going to play poker. Yeah. And that's important, because if you don't do that, here's the problem. Here's the challenge when you don't do that. The challenge is you're no longer in control of your time, essentially. So like you're grinding, and anything can come up. Your favorite TV show is on. Oh, you get sidetracked with that. Oh, your mom calls. Oh, let me answer that phone call for an hour.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I don't let anyone distract me when I've decided I'm going to do something. That time is allocated already, and if they tell me, hey Jack, you want to hang out? Sure, we can hang out when I'm done playing for the night. Or if I plan that beforehand. Let's say, for example, this Friday night I plan to go watch UFC with the guys. But if it's like a last minute thing and I've already allocated that time for grinding, you're not gonna sway me. That's not really gonna happen. I'll tell you, oh, you want to set up a Skype call? No problem. After I'm done playing, or when I'm free. I'll tell you when I'm free, and it'll happen then. Um, so yeah, it's important to respect your own time,
Yeah.
right? And also have respect for other people's time. That's goes hand in hand. So respecting your own time is definitely the first step. You want to hold that boundary
Yeah.
where people don't think that they can just kind of like swoop in and like just hang out. Like he's like, let's say for example, if I'm grinding, it's like 5 p.m. in the middle of my grind, and let's say like I don't live in the same city as my parents, but let's say my parents lived a few blocks away, and my mom just stops by. She just happens to knock on the door, stop by, and comes in. Maybe the first time I might be like, all right, I guess like I'll stop grinding and spend time with her, but I would let her know. I would set up that boundary. Listen, during the week until 9 p.m., I'm grinding, so this is not a good time for you to stop by. On my day off, you can stop by and listen to that. So you set that boundary, so it's not like people can just do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, and kind of cross those boundaries with your time. So that's a very important thing, I think, for
Yep.
everybody.
All right. Moving on. D. Being very well prepared is the key to success. Continuous learning. I actually think we covered that in A. I think we veered off and no,
Yes.
sorry, not A. In B.
With
About
everything
sharpening.
we do.
So yeah.
With every,
So
yeah.
we'll cruise through to E, the final one. Do the hardest thing of your day early in the morning to get it out of your way while you're fresh, so that the rest of your day is smooth sailing. Yeah, this one is just the gym for almost everybody, I think, or at least it is for me. The gym is by far the hardest thing that I do in the day. The thing I look forward to the least. The thing I enjoy the least. I don't. I'm not one of those people that I'm like doing a bicep curl and I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm loving life right now. Like every every rep that I do is just like murder, and I'm like counting down the minutes until it's finished and I can be done with it. But I do it first thing in the day, um, so that I don't have it hanging over my head. And I think that's the most important thing about this point, isn't it? Is that you want to sort of, we all have things that we have to do in life, and they will hang over you like a dark cloud unless you address them as quickly as possible. And it's like talking about, to be fair, this links quite neatly back to the uncertainty that we did in a podcast 1 month ago, not 1 hour ago. Definitely 1 month ago that we did it. Do you remember the one about something about a wilderness or something?
Yes, yes.
You remember, yeah.
Mhm.
Again about uncertainty, and the people with the electric shocks. People are much more fearful if they don't know they're going to get the electric shock when they've got something that is hanging over their heads like that. Whereas the people who knew they
Yes.
were about to get a shock, it wasn't so bad. So that's kind of how I feel about the gym. If I wake up late and I'm like, right, I have to go to the gym at 7 p.m., I spend the day dreading it. It's
Yes, yes, you
it,
will.
yeah,
And like it's not even about it's also exactly what you said, but it's also about like things that are like could be potential energy drains.
yeah,
Like for me, um, I can only do the coachings that we do in the morning, because if I have to do a coaching after my grind
impossible.
and try to do it efficiently and good, it's going to be difficult because, some people don't realize coaching does take a lot of, energy, um, to do it properly. When
Yeah,
we get up and we coach, we want to make sure that we're giving 100% value. So being
yeah,
fresh in the morning is the best way to do that. Or even my studying. I don't want to study at the end of the day when I'm done with my grind. The last thing I want to do is study at that point.
no way.
So I want to do those things that are energy draining. The gym, the coaching, the studying, do those things in the morning, anything that could potentially become an energy drain, so that the rest of your day is literally just smooth sailing. So you're just kind of unwinding. So imagine your day is you start all the way up here, and then slowly you kind of relax into the night.
Yeah,
So do whatever is most difficult, whatever is the most energy draining in your morning. Get it out of your way, regardless of what it is. Get that out of your way. Same thing with like, normal people that work 9 to 5 jobs. You want to work 9 to 5 instead of like working 5 p.m. to like 4 a.m. Because if you wake up at 9 and you have your whole like your whole morning and afternoon to dread that you have to go to your 9 to 5 job, your 5 to whatever
Yeah.
job at that point. Like for you, it's different. You actually work these late hours, but you wake up late, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's say, for example, if you worked at a normal job and it was a graveyard shift, like 6 p.m. to 4 a.m., and you actually woke up and you spent your morning and your afternoon knowing that you had to go to work at 6 p.m. to 3 a.m., for
Yeah.
you don't have a problem because you wake up at a certain time. So it is your morning. The coaching is actually your morning, right? It's like 4 or
Yeah.
5 p.m. is your morning. So you're in a different boat. But for other people, let's say, for example, if they wake up at 10 p.m., like if you wake up at 10 a.m., if you wake up at 10 a.m. and you're planning to do hard things in your day at 5, 6 p.m., that's going to be difficult because it's just, yeah, you're going to be dreading it. You're like, you do your fun part of the day between let's say like 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then after that, it's like, okay, now I got to go to the gym and now I got to do all this shit. You're like, you know, you're like
Yeah.
dreading it now. You're like, I should have done that thing. I should have done those things when I first woke up.
Yeah.
Those things should have been done when you first woke up. So that's the main point there. Do the things while you're fresh. So just to recap everything here, um, it's really about doing the things that are essential and prioritizing the things that are essential, whether it be in solvers, whether it be in life. Um, and you get to decide what's essential for you and what's not. Uh, and and just staying focused on those priorities that you set out for yourself. And this is the way you become productive, not by being busy, right? Not by working more hours. Working more hours doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do better off. You know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can work more hours at $5 games. You're never really going to get ahead. It's just not possible there unless
Yeah.
you spin a
Yeah.
jackpot. But, you got to sharpen that saw. You got to study more. You got to climb up the stakes and put yourself in a position to maximize your potential
Yeah. Don't
by
be a
doing the most productive things.
don't be a hamster in a wheel. You know.
Yeah, don't be a hamster on the wheel. Like you're running, but you're not getting anywhere. Or you can't run from York to London. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, you're working hard. It seems like that's the thing that throws people off, though.
Yeah.
See, when you're running from York to London, literally running, it seems like you're being productive. So that's where the human brain gets confused. Like, oh, I'm doing everything in my power. I'm doing everything that I can.
Yeah.
But are you doing the most important thing? Are you doing it efficiently, right?
Yeah.
You can't run from York to London. I guess you can, but it is not the most
It's
effective way
10
to do it.
marathons, so
Yeah, you'll be so tired. But
yeah.
that's the thing is like your brain's like, oh, you see, Scott, I'm being productive now. I'm running, I'm sweating. It feels like you're doing so much,
Yeah.
but you're really not doing anything. So you got to call yourself out when you're in that position where you're busy, but you're not being productive.
Yeah.
So be careful for that trap to anybody watching this.
Good advice.
Um,
Good advice for
you
study
know,
particularly.
yes, that goes hand in hand with studying.
Certainly
Um,
does.
you know, any last words, Mr. Pig?
No last words, Sarah. I'll see you next month for our next
Yes.
1 to 2 podcasts, I guess.
Yes, next month. And for June, we got a book called Big Money Energy by Ryan Serhant, who's a star of Million Dollar Listing New York. It's one of my favorite shows, actually. I already read the book. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10, so excited to do that one.
Okay.
And so whoever wants to read along, etc. And I guess you can wrap this one up here, Piggy.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thank you, Jack.
Yes, sir.
All right. Peace.
All right.